Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today we're going to be doing my picks for week 1 of the 2023 USFL season. I'm going to be looking at Fox Bets, over, under, point spread, as well as favorite underdog, and be going over my picks in all three. So essentially these are my betting picks, just like I did last year. So without further ado, let's just get started with the first matchup of the week, being the Philadelphia Stars at the Memphis Showboats. This is the opening game, and I think this is going to be a great game. The fact is that this is going to be the first game the Showboats have played at Memphis since the original iteration of the Showboats back in 1985 as their last year. And this is the exact same stadium they were at. And with ticket sales that look to be really solid for the first game, there's going to be a lot of fans out here to show support for the Showboats. I think that home field advantage is going to be a huge deal for them. The fact is that the Stars are minus 2.5 point favorites, and then you have the Stars as the actual favorites at minus 143, and the over-under is 38.5. When I look at this, I'm going to give the edge in the over-under to the over. Now, I know that a lot of people would say do the under because there's going to be a lot of, kind of gelling in the first couple weeks of the season. But I think when you look at both these teams, they brought back most of their offense without really losing that much. The only big losses were mainly just Cheyenne O'Grady and Keamu for the Bandits, and the Stars didn't really lose anyone aside from Alexander Jr., who wasn't a huge threat on offense as much as he was in special teams. So I think that overall, I think both these offenses are going to click pretty well together, and I don't think either defense is really set up to be elite this year. So I'm going to go with the over. And in terms of the winner, even though I do believe the Stars are the best team in the league and will win the title, I'm going to go with the Showboats winning this game, which means they also cover the spread. I think the Showboats pull off the upset in due part to the fact that they have a home field advantage. I think the fans are going to give them a huge boost, and they're going to end up pulling this one in the end. So I'm going to give my edge to the Memphis Showboats. Now, as for the second game, we have the rematch of the outstanding opening week game last year of the Generals at the Stallions. Again, the Stallions do have home field advantage, and they're actually 5.5 point favorites in this game, and then they're minus 213 the money line, and the over-under is 39.5. I'm going to take the under on this game. I think that both teams, while they did bring back a good amount of offense, I think the Generals' loss of some of their elite offensive linemen, mainly Garrett McGinn as well as Cavante Turpin, is going to hit them huge. And the Stallions losing Victor Bolden Jr. is going to affect them too, and Osiris Mitchell. So I think both offenses are going to take a step back where their defenses are going to be kind of the same-ish, as they didn't lose a ton, though DeMarcus Gates was a big loss for the Stallions. But in terms of who wins this game, I think that the point spread is really insane. I think that minus 5.5 is obscene for this type of game. I think that while, yes, the Stallions are viewed by a lot of people as the best team heading into the season, I wouldn't say that for sure. I think the Stallions did lose a lot of talent, and I think the Generals do want revenge for how they went out last year in that pretty pathetic loss to the Stars, as well as the fact that they lost that opening night game. So I'm going to, again, go against the point spread and favorite, and I'm going to go with the Generals both covering the spread and winning the game outright. So then we get to the third game, which is going to be the Michigan Panthers versus the Houston Gamblers at Memphis, technically an at Houston game. The Gamblers are minus 1, the Gamblers are minus 118 in the money line, and the over-under is 38.5. I'll be honest, this is clearly one that I think is catered toward casuals. I think any hardcore USFL fan knows that if the Gamblers win this game, this is a huge upset and would be the biggest upset of the week, I would say. The Gamblers lost an absurd amount of talent and didn't really gain that much, whereas the Panthers gained a ton. Yeah, they just cut Robert Kimdichie, but that shows that even a former first-round pick isn't good enough to be on the roster. Their team is still really solid. Now, the projected start, I believe, is Carson Strong. We do know Kenji Bahar is starting for the Gamblers, which is a big help for them. But I feel like with Carson Strong and Reggie Corbin, the offense should be good enough for the Panthers to overpower this insanely weakened Gamblers defense. And I think the Panthers defense, with Mike Nolan leading it, as well as guys like Breland Speaks on there, are going to do a lot to win this. I do think the Panthers cover. I think the Panthers win outright. Now, as for the over-under, this one is probably one of the two hardest ones for me to pick. Because on one side, I don't think the Gamblers' offense is going to score a lot, but I do think the Panthers are going to score a lot. But what I look at, I think this is probably going to be about in the range of 25 to 15 type point game. Essentially, I think that the Gamblers are probably going to get 2 touchdowns. I think the Panthers probably get 3 and a field goal. And so with that, even though it would be really tight, I'm going to go with the under for this game. Now, the last game is the Pittsburgh Maulers versus the New Orleans Breakers at Birmingham. This is technically an at-Breakers game, and this is probably one of the most intriguing matchups of all of them. Now, I believe the odds have changed a bit in this one. I think they used to be like minus 3.5, for the Breakers, but then it became minus 4.5 for the Breakers, as well as the fact that the money line for this is now minus 182 for the Breakers, which it always was, and the over-under is 37.5. This is definitely a close one. I think everyone does know that the Maulers were probably the most improved team because of how bad they were last year and just how much they improved this year. But the Breakers, a lot of people seem to think the team got better over the year, even though, yes, at quarterback they probably did. We still do not know about head coach, though I do think it is an upgrade with DeFilippo. But their defense is probably going to take a big hit, and so are their weapons on offense. I'm going to go with the Maulers covering the spread. I think this is going to end up being a very close game that comes down to a field goal or OT. So I do think the Maulers cover the spread, i.e. that they lose the game by less than 4.5 points. But I do think the Breakers win. I think the Breakers pull out this close game. And for the over-under, I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a close game mainly due to the fact that the offenses aren't gelling yet. And I'm going to go with the under in this one. I think this is going to probably be a game where both teams score about 2 touchdowns and a field goal. So I'm going to go with the under on this game. So those are my picks for week 1 of the 2023 USFL season. Let me know what your picks are down below in the comments. And as always, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell if you want to be notified for any content that, as this year, new season starts, we're going to have a lot of content coming out soon. We're going to have the week 1 tier list, part 2, coming up next week probably. So make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and as always, have a great night.